Nintendo Switch 2 has tons of complaints. Ooh! Yokoso Otaku's The Nintendo Switch 2 was announced, and they did like a 3-day event, basically. It was a direct and then 2 days of tree houses that talked about the games. And it brought a lot of things to light about the system. I personally am pretty excited about it. I don't consider myself a fanboy, though I do play a ton of Nintendo games, and I've seen a lot of like online grifting with this. Like literally content creators are making some crazy accusations. We got Mutahar out here saying that this is the end of game preservation. I guess it's all ruined now. Got Penguin Zero, Charlie, Moist Critical, whatever you want to call him or not call him. He's out here trying to say that these $90 games are going to destroy the industry. There's going to be nothing left of the game industry because it's just going to be in devastated ruins. Oh! We better freak out and all panic because $90 games will change the face of this earth. And it will destroy gaming from its core. And Nintendo making this decision is going to be the one thing that tips everything over that way. There's no other influences that have been going on at all. Just the $90. Before we get too far into it, I do want to say, $90 is not an acceptable amount to pay for a game. I don't believe that. We're going to get into the details of that soon. But before we get too far into it, I did want to mention that what we're going to talk about in this video. So in this video, I'm going to cover the following topics. We're going to go over the Switch game key cards, my thoughts on it, the pricing of the actual Switch hardware itself. We're going to look at it compared to a couple different other things. We're going to talk about Switch game pricing, which is a big one and a lot of misconceptions, but also some yuck. We got the SD Express cards being required. People seem to be just livid that they can't buy $2 AliExpress 5 terabyte cards and have them work on the system. Those are fake, by the way. We also are going to talk about Japan exclusive pricing. There's actually a regional version of the Switch 2 that is going to be for Japan only. Finally, we're going to finish this off by reviewing Nintendo's website and some of the updates they have on the backwards compatibility. And we'll talk about some of the woes people have. And I'm also going to talk about why I'm not going overboard with being worried about it right now. So that's what we got for the video today. Let's start off with the Switch game key card. So one of the biggest complaints that people have had about this Nintendo announcement is that they're doing these things called Switch game key cards. So normal case scenario, you buy a physical game and you put the card into the system. The card has data on it that allows you to play the game, and you play the game and you have a really great time playing the game. Doesn't matter if you have the internet, doesn't matter anything else. You have the game on the cart, you're playing the game, you paid 60, 70 bucks for it, and that's where you're at. This changes things a little bit. Switch game key cards are not full games. They have a smaller amount of memory on them, very small allocation of memory. When you plug it into the system, it will give you access basically to download that game digitally. And then as long as you have the card in the system, you can play the game that you've downloaded. Now, tons of things are dumb about that. There's a lot of talk that this is a really great way for devs to save some money because making cards with large amounts of memory on them, the chips cost more money. And so if you have less data, it's cheaper and it saves the money. And, and I'm not saying this in a positive way. I'm saying this is like some sort of racketeering that they've figured out how to save even more money while still charging us the same full amount. As it stands, as we've seen legitimately the actual facts that we can look at, there are a extremely small amount of games so far that are announced to use the game key card. There is Street Fighter 6 that I can recall off the top of my head, as well as the Bravely Default fairy something game. I should really know the name of it. I don't. Street Fighter 6 is a mainline major game, and it is pretty unfortunate that they're doing it with a game like that. It's not the newest game, it's not a first party game, it's not the biggest game, but it's a bummer, right? It's like if you pay $60-$70 for that game, you're going to want it on the cart. And, game preservation is marred a little bit by this. But if Nintendo does not do this for every single game ever, if they do it for very, very select games, then we, as the consumers, can decide ourselves whether that's something that we want to do or not. So if they're releasing games that are on these game cards only, don't buy them. Right? Just don't buy them. Talk with your wallet. I can't talk about this enough. This is the biggest complaint. People yell and scream and whine online. We have this whole campaign going on about drop the prices with the Switch 2. And really what matters is purchasing. So you don't like this stuff, you have problems with it, don't purchase it. However, I did read online something that was kind of interesting that I had not previously thought of before. And the Switch game key cards do allow you to do something else, and that is sell your game. So if you're looking at it versus a digital sale, if you go on the eShop and you say, I want this game, I'm going to buy it, it costs X amount of money, you get it, it's locked on your system. You have to log into that account, you have to have, the Switch that you got it on, or at least the account you got it on, rather, and you have to only play it that way. So if your buddy wants to play it and you want to give the game to him in the Switch 1 scenario of digital only games or digital games, you don't have the ability to do anything about that. So with a Switch game key card, you could use it the same way as you use a physical game. There really isn't an advantage over physical games other than for the developer, obviously, but if you're looking at it versus a digital sale, then it is different because you can sell your games. A lot of this hinges on a lot of different things, and we don't have anything firm yet for this stuff. People are panicking, they're making these wild ideas up, they're coming up with things off the top of their head with no actual real basis to it, just going off of what we do have. And so I really, really don't think anyone should be in a level of strong panic at this point. We need to see how this rolls out and talk with our wallets as we continue on through this process. So if you guys haven't thought about that before, it is a little cool that you can get a game and it's like getting a digital game, but it allows you to do resale and also trade with friends and stuff like that. There's other things too that we'll talk about, but it's kind of in a separate topic. The next thing I want to talk about is Switch pricing. So when you're looking at how much the Switch costs, I didn't know this, but I guess the internet assumed that this was going to be a $350 price point. I, on the other hand, was kind of a psychopath, and I said that I would expect anything under $1,000, which $1,000 would be kind of criminal. I don't think we've seen anything like that. The PS3 was kind of perversely priced when it first came out, and we were maybe close to that, but nothing actually like from Nintendo has cost anything like that. We're looking at $450 for just the system itself, $500 for the system and Mario Kart World. Turns out to be kind of a deal because Mario Kart World is $80 and it'll be $50 if you get it bundled. I'm going with the bundle when I'm looking at my pre-orders. Do I think the price is fair? I do. I think that the price is fair, and I have absolutely no problem spending $500 on the system. The Switch 1 is probably one of my most played systems, mostly because of its portability, and the only thing that's really taken me away from it has been my Steam Deck, which is like a portable PC, essentially. A little bit different than what the Switch is. Everyone said the Steam Deck was going to kill the Switch. It didn't. They are two separate markets. You'll never convince me different of that. The people that are buying them are just different people. Having said that, I, like many others, have wanted a more powerful Switch system, and I've had a more powerful handheld system with the Steam Deck. It cost quite a bit of money to get. I got the OLED version. It wasn't cheap. All right, so I bought the 512 gigabyte OLED for $549. It has a 7.4 inch screen with up to a 90 hertz refresh rate. If you look back, so that's not a great comparison with the Switch 2 because the Switch 2, for one, doesn't have an OLED screen. Um, and yeah, there's some differences. But what you would probably actually compare it to more likely would be the 256 gigabyte, same as the Switch 2, LCD, same as Switch 2, Steam Deck, $399.99. So it's priced $50 more. Now, is that a ripoff? Because if you can just get a Steam Deck for $399 with 256 gigabytes, wouldn't you be set? Well, we're going to look at the Switch 2 specs from Nintendo, not from some leaker online, not from some stuff people are making up or assuming or guessing or believing, whatever. And we're going to go over here, and you're going to see that the Switch 2, it's thinner, if I remember right, or at least if I'm understanding this right, it's thinner, which is kind of nice, but is not really a tech thing. It has a 7.9 inch screen at 1920 by 1080 pixels. So we're much higher than the Steam Deck, which was only 1280 by 800, and we're in a full 1080p range with the screen, which is super cool. And it's 7.9 inches, which is like 0.5 inches bigger. It doesn't really seem like a big number when you're looking at number to number, but I think physically when you're looking at a diagonal screen that's 0.5 inches bigger, it's likely going to feel absolutely massive. I know when I switch back and forth between my Switch and other devices, it's like the screen sizes are really, really, even if it's just a little bit different, it really stands out. Spec to spec, I think that we can't make a completely great comparison right now, and a huge reason is because when you go down here on the Nintendo Switch 2, it says here CPU, GPU, the big boy, the thing that really matters. It literally just says a custom processor made by NVIDIA. Now, if you go by what the leaks and what, you know, I don't even know where it originated. I tried really finding it. I couldn't exactly find where this originated from, but apparently somebody seems to think that it's some specific chip that is obviously newer than the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck's been out a couple years. But they say, from what I've read, that it's negligibly more powerful than the Steam Deck, like just a fraction. And then you're looking at comparing the RAM, and it has less RAM than the Steam Deck. So it's kind of leaning towards you maybe feeling like the Switch 2 isn't actually a better deal, but that's with information that is not confirmed. So from what's confirmed, I would argue that the Switch 2 is better than the Steam Deck and will be more powerful than the Steam Deck. We'll have to see and wait until it's in our hands, and I could be super wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm fine with that. I'm not really dying on this hill by any means, but it does seem like it's a little bit better. There is certain things that the Switch 2 has that the Steam Deck doesn't do, and one of them is the detachable Joy-Cons with the mouse thing. I think that in itself is like, there's an investment in technology that's been going on. There's an investment in technology that is, you know, I would say is better, as an arguable improvement, or a reason, at least a justification for a cost being higher, because it's a whole different feature that the Steam Deck doesn't even come close to. Plus the Joy-Cons are detachable. But the other thing you have to also think of is the dock. There's a noticeable difference in what the Switch 2 has for a dock, which is this big meaty dock with a big fan in it that helps with the cooling and everything like that. And the Switch docks apparently work different than the Steam Deck dock. The Steam Deck dock kind of just takes input from the deck and it just outputs it to your TV. As a person who owns a Steam Deck, I never play it on my TV. It just never seems to look very good. The resolution is bad, and you'd have to set that differently. Like, I'm playing it on a 4K TV and it's in 720p, and it's just kind of muddy and yucky looking, and I don't look like what it looks like. It's fine on a small screen, but on a large screen it's not. And I think that the Switch 2 is definitely intended to be played on a wide screen and a large screen just as much as it is the handheld screen. And so I think that there's also kind of a benefit in that over the Steam Deck as well. Let me show off the Steam Deck dock. In case you've never seen it before, this is what a Steam Deck dock looks like. It's tiny. It's like smaller than my actual hand is. It just has one little cable coming off that connects onto the top of it. And on the back, you have a multitude of outputs, which is really great. You got the DVI there, the HDMI, 3 USB ports, a USB-C, and a LAN port. But there's no cooling. It's not like a big, device holder that really holds it on securely. Literally, there's just a little rubber strip on the bottom that just helps it from slipping off. This is such a small little thing, and I think that the Switch is actually more engineered. I mean, even the Switch 1, when I got this as a dock, I was like, is this like, I mean, it's cool that it's small. It's great. It makes it much more portable, easy to bring around with you. But when you're comparing it to something like the Switch, I think that it's not quite as good, especially at the Switch 2. I think having that fan and the assistance of the cooling and stuff is good. But when you hook it to the Steam, or when you hook it to the Switch dock, you also get kind of the increase. You get the increase in specs, basically. It kind of goes from underclocking it to clocking it about normal, or overclocking it. I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. But it does become more powerful. It outputs at a higher resolution, which is something that the Steam Deck doesn't do unless you go into it and you set all those settings manually, which just isn't for everyone. And honestly, me as kind of a tech savvy person, I haven't found it to be a great device to hook to the TV. I'm definitely not playing it in 4K. I did one time change the resolution on a couple games that I was trying to play to higher resolutions to make it look better on my big screen TV, and it looked fine, but it played like crap. It played terrible. I've read stuff online. People have done 4K gaming with like the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck and stuff like that. I don't know how they're doing it. I honestly, even my big boy PC isn't really the best for 4K. I've never thought of using a handheld for that. A lot of the secret sauce and the magic, in my opinion, is literally coming from the software, which Valve has been doing incredible advances of their software. They make games look so good on the handheld version and play so well. It is awesome. But I think that the Switch is just going to do, the Switch 2 is going to do a really, really great job with that as well. And I think they're going to have a lot of the fun stuff, not fun stuff, but the stuff I don't like as a PC gamer, but I would love to have on the Switch 2 with like the DLSS and the frame generation and different things like that that are going to be able to take something that's like a 720p and convert it to 4K and have it run smooth and buttery, which is nice, I think. And I think so. You're looking at comparing a $399 price tag to a $450 price tag. All of the things that I've mentioned literally fill the void great for covering why it's another $50, and I have no problem paying it. Again, like I said, as long as it's powerful enough, as long as we get the performance out of it, I am highly interested in it. Even if the Switch 2 came out at a $500 price point or a $600 price point, I would still get it. And that's where I'm at, and you are probably gonna super disagree. I know that's probably just a crazy thing to say, but I feel like that honestly and genuinely, and that has nothing to do with me just loving Nintendo, because I don't just eat crap. I really don't. So the next point that we have to talk about is the Switch game pricing. And this is something that I think people have gone kind of through different phases with this. The one big thing that I heard in all the snap reactions from the YouTubers, the Mudahars, the Charlies, all the other people I'm not even going to mention, there's a lot of different kind of creators that are trying to get videos to be as big as possible, as fast as possible, and they jumped on this bus about Switch game pricing, and the first thing everyone said was, oh my god, $90 games. The games are gonna cost $90 now. we've been doing $60 for so many years, and now we're going in to $70, and we don't even like $70. And here Nintendo is saying, we're going to offer digital games are $80, physical games are $90. Absolutely unacceptable. Drop the price. Let's cause mayhem and havoc over this online. Let's booster our opinion out there and let everyone know Nintendo is gotta stop because we're gonna complain. Well, the reality is that when you look at official pricing in the US, and this whole video is US based, right? I'm from the US. I only deal in US prices. I'm not going to look at Europe. I'm not going to look at Japan. I'm not looking anywhere else for pricing on games. I'm looking at the US. And the person that made that post on Twitter was the one that someone on Twitter originated this whole thing. Jeff Keighley, I think is what his name is. And he said, you know, these $90 games, and that's where everyone went, they cracked off to the moon. But if you look at Best Buy and you look at GameStop and other places where they have actually announced games and game prices, in the United States, there is not one single game at all that Nintendo is saying they want $90 for. That is not at all. European prices, not going there. But in the US field, it is $80 is the absolute top amount. And as the announcements go so far, now granted there's not prices on everything yet that they've said is coming out, but what they do have prices for, there is only one game and one game only that they say they want $80 for instead of $70. And that game is Mario Kart World. Now Mario Kart World looks awesome. Don't get me wrong, it looks super cool. I'm very excited. I like Mario Kart, but I don't get excited for Mario Kart. This one looks exciting to me. It harkens a lot of like these older racing games with it. I love the continuous, like 5 races or whatever, straight down a road kind of a thing. Awesome. I love all of it. The game looks great. Definitely an improvement in so many ways. Why are they pricing it at $80? This is the part of the video, the one part where I'm not going off factual information, but I'm kind of assuming this. And I think that the big reason why is because it's a multiplayer game, and Nintendo has announced this new feature with their games where you can do game sharing, where now you'll get basically like I think it's up to 4 or 5 different copies of the game that you can share with friends and family. And when it comes to a multiplayer experience, you're going to want to share that, right? Every time we've played multiplayer in our household, I have me, I have Bree, and I have our kid. And I know that's not everyone. I'm talking about my personal experience here. But we have 3 people in this house. So if we want to play Splatoon, I'm buying $60 Splatoon for me, $60 Splatoon for Bree, $60 Splatoon for the kid, and I'm paying $180 to get all 3 of us to play the game. Same with Mario Kart, same with Animal Crossing, same with any of that. But if this Nintendo sharing works like they say that it works, instead of buying 3 copies for my household, I now only have to buy 1 copy. So I'm just right off the top, that's 50% less I'm buying in this house. Am I justifying an $80 price tag? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And the reality is when it comes to my purchasing, I make good money. I'm just putting that out there. I've always been pretty clear about that. I don't try to beg you guys. I don't try to do a bunch of crazy clickbait stuff on this channel to make it blow up so I can get a bunch of money, because my day job pays me well. I don't like paying $160. I hate buying games multiple times. I hate it. I hate it so much. And when it comes to actual games, you're seeing me, my purchases are almost always sales. They're almost always sales. I would say probably 75% of every game I've got has at least had a 10 to 20% discount on it before I purchased it. I'm buying indie games, so I'm not paying $70 for most games I play. Most games I play sit around $40 or $50. There are occasionally games that are from IPs that I absolutely love. We got the Personas, the Shin Megami Tenseis, pretty much Atlas things, right? Atlas and NIS America. I'm buying those games, but it's not all that common. They're usually $60. $70 games are generally reserved for the AAA big boy games, you know? And I'm just not playing them. And if I am playing them, I'm playing them on Xbox Game Pass, where I'm just paying a monthly fee to basically rent some games out. Or, you know, I'm waiting until they go on sale long time ago. And I'm very, very particular when I do go to buy a game at full price. I'm looking at every tiny little detail about it. I'm not buying it quite as willy-nilly as the game that is $60 that went for $10 on Steam. You know, I'm honestly, I'm turning my brain off. I'm clicking buy on that. But when it comes to the big boy games, I just ain't buying it. At an $80 price point, not even happening. Not happening. I'm getting the Switch with Mario Kart that comes with it, so it's going to cost me $50. You ain't seeing me paying $80 for a game. You aren't. I don't even care. Metroid Prime 4 drops at $80. I ain't buying it. I'm just not buying it. Period. I don't care. I've been waiting so long for Metroid Prime 4. I want Metroid Prime 4. They don't have a price for it yet. We got all this tariff and stuff with Trump making all these decisions in the U.S. Japan's scared. They're making their own changes to things, holding off on when pre-orders will be for the States. They want to up this stuff, $80 a game. I just ain't buying it. I'm going to be looking at backwards compatibility. I'm going to be doing a lot of backwards compatibility with the Switch for quite a while. Playing a lot of Mario Kart and anything else that comes out that's not $80 because I'm not buying it. Nintendo will see this too. If you guys don't buy it either, it's the best way to do it. You yell online all you want, make Facebook posts, Twitter posts, YouTube videos. You do what you want. Nintendo ain't making changes. You don't give them money, Nintendo loses money. They make less money than they expected to. They're going to make changes. I'm just saying. That's just how that is. And the last part about game pricing that I have to say, this is a huge shit on Nintendo. I will just put that out there. Fuck you, Nintendo, on this one. They're doing a tech showcase game and they're charging money for it. I don't know how else to address that. You all know that's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. Your grandmother knows that's bullshit. Every single person on earth knows that's bullshit. Why are you releasing a game that talks about the system features, how it works? Sure, there's some mini games. There's some little things to do. Fuck you, Nintendo. This video may get demonetized, it may get whatever, but fuck you. I have nothing else to say about that, and there is no other response I could ever have. You want to release a tech demo? Give it to me for free to learn about the system. I don't care if it's 99 cents, if it's $5, if it's $20. It doesn't matter what price it is. I will not pay that, and I don't think many people will either. Who would buy that? Where is the justification to buy something that tells you about the product that you bought? Especially when you buy it for $450. Nintendo needs to just get a grip on that one. That actually is the only thing out of everything that's been announced on the Switch 2 that I think is just a slap in the face. I've never heard of something like that in my life. And honestly, I'm pretty sure you probably feel like that too. Our next topic is the SD Express. This is not going to be a super long one, but I've seen a lot of people complain. I don't even know what an SD Express card is. What is this? What would Nintendo expect me to just go out and find some fancy dancy thing? Well, I'm going to have to pay good money for that? Well, yeah, let me tell you what. I have tons of different devices, including my digital camera that I'm recording with right now, that you're watching me record with, right? This camera records in 4K, and it's the first camera I've ever had that's recorded in 4K, and it does 4K, I think 30. It doesn't do 4K 60. But regardless, it requires that in order for me to have the functionality to take 4K video and record it in real time and save it onto the card, that I need to have a card that is more expensive, because the more expensive cards are faster. They're faster cards. You need a fast card. And SD Express is basically the equivalent, or trying to be the equivalent, of an SSD hard drive. We are having modern games now. I recently played Ratchet and Clank, Rift Between Time, or whatever it's called, and it literally requires that you put it on an SSD card. And it's because it has this mechanic in it where you're ripping through time and you're going from one universe to the other, and that game has to load data fast. And I'm talking 1080p. I'm not even talking 4K. In order to do that, you have to have a fast reader. It's got to do fast reading and fast writing to yank this data out and put it in front of your eyes. So yes, you need a fast memory card. You can't cheap out on crappy stuff from AliExpress or fake cards from Amazon. It's 2025. Get a grip, learn about SD cards, buy a good one. Know that there's no such thing as a freaking 5 terabyte card from AliExpress that costs $30 that you're gonna get and it's gonna run everything. This is literally not even a complaining issue. It is your complete ignorance if you have a problem with this. It needs to have a fast card because you're getting high quality things quickly. It's just how this works. Buy it, you get a good card, it's gonna last you forever. I paid like $80 for 120 gigabyte high-speed card for my camera a long time ago, years ago. I think I've had it for like 6 years now. It's reliable, it runs well. Get one of those, get something equivalent like that for your Switch too. You're gonna enjoy it, it's gonna be a good time, it's not gonna be a problem, you'll forget about the cost, it'll pay itself off in the long run. If not, you got 256 gigs of internal memory, and as they've shown right now, the games are not maybe quite as big as you think they'd be, and you're probably going to be able to fit quite a bit on there. I mean, how many games do you need to have on there? I'm terrible at this, though. I have probably 90 games right now that are on my computer installed, ready to play. Do I play but 3 of them? Yeah, that's how I am. But and I get it. I get that lifestyle, okay? But if you want to do it, you got to buy a card. It's got to be a fast card because it's the only way you're going to be ripping 4K so fast. That's just facts. That's just how hardware works, and it's just something that you have to deal with. This is technology. I get that Nintendo fans are kind of used to just plug and play, quick, cheap, and easy, but again, 2025, we're living in a different world. Things are different now, and upgrades are needing to be happening, and that includes your SD cards. Legitimately does. Another thing to talk about too is the upgrade packs. So this kind of goes along with the Switch game pricing that we just talked about. I don't know how I feel about this. I think that upgrade packs are great in the way that I own like Kirby already. So if I want to play it for the Switch too, I'm going to pay some money and I'm going to get an upgrade pack and I'm going to have it improved on the Switch too. Not only that, I'm going to have additional content, though, which to me makes it kind of worth it. It's like buying a DLC also. So I don't have any problems with this. People seem to have a huge problem with it. They seem to be really mad about it. And I'm just not understanding where the problems are with this. I mean, you bought the game for one system and you want to play it on another system. And instead of having you rebuy the whole thing again, they're charging you a price. And granted, from what I've read online, it could potentially, so again, I don't think there's confirmed for sure about this, but it could potentially cost you $20, right? I pay $20 to have all the improvements plus extra content. I mean, as long as things are getting devved, you're getting new additions, and you're getting improvements that are beyond just the game running better because now it's on the Switch too. It is what it is. I think it's a good thing. A lot of people totally disagree with me. I know Mudahar has this whole rant on how every game dev should just be giving free upgrades for everything, and I think that's absurd. I think that's crazy to ask for that. I really do. I never have I mean, I guess in some situations, we've had backwards compatibility where you haven't had to buy upgrade packs like way a long time ago. You look at the PS2, played PS1 games, and you just put the disc in and it played, but there wasn't really a noticeable improvement for it, and there definitely wasn't any additions. So upgrade packs, they're a thumbs up for me, and if you disagree, I'd love to hear your why, or, you know, you want to talk some crap to me, you're more than welcome to. Then we have Japan exclusivity pricing. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, I've been to Japan a couple times in the last couple years, and I'm not an expert by any means. I don't say that I'm an expert, but I've been there, I've experienced it, I've purchased in Japan, I've, you know, traveled a number of places in the country, and the thing is that over the last couple of years, the yen has been demolished. I mean, it is worthless. The yen is in an absolute crisis level. Honestly, I read today the tariff stuff has hit it even harder, and the whole market is just underwater right now. They're suffering, they're struggling, they're having a lot of problems, and as a tourist, there's this huge benefit to it, right? The yen tanks, and the US dollar, while the US dollar has weakened, it ain't the yen. Like, the yen is literally dropped off a cliff. And the conversion rate is insane. I think the first time we went, it was close to like 64 cents to the dollar. The second time we went was something like 70 cents to a dollar. It's nothing. And a lot of the games are a lot cheaper there. So I went out and I bought, like, my copy of Mario Kart Jamboree is a Japanese copy, and I have other things too. I always usually buy a bunch of stuff for Switch because it's region free, and I save a wild amount of money. But the point is that the Japanese economy is in a damn near crisis at this point. And so what Nintendo has decided to do is they will now have Japan exclusive regionality for the Switch 2. And the reason why is because they're really wanting the Japanese people to be able to get the system, to be able to afford the system, enjoy the system. You know, it's their country, it's their product. They want their people to be happy. They're making sure they're looking out for them, and I think that's cool. Americans also aren't, and Europeans and other people in the world aren't able to go to Japan and buy the console and then scalp it. Why would they scalp it? Well, the cost of the Japanese exclusive systems are rock bottom. They're super, super cheap. I think it's all the way down to like $350 or something. It's like $100 savings off of the system in Japan. Now, don't quote me on that exact amount, but it is significantly cheaper. It's like, I want to say I'm pretty fairly certain it's at least $100 cheaper, but unless you know Japanese, don't expect to go out there and get it. Now, is this a huge bummer? I think it's a super huge bummer because I buy a lot of stuff and I have an affiliate code and do affiliation for Play Asia website, which is this really cool website where people can go. This is not a pitch. People can go and they can buy like a Japanese copy of a game. A good instance of that, I bought Monarch. Monarch came out like a month before in Japan, and so I ordered it, and I got the copy in, and I got to play the Japanese copy well before it came out in the States. Now, in that particular case, it was in Japanese, but there is a number of Japanese games that have English capabilities to them still. Mario Kart Jamboree, like I mentioned before, is one of them, and you can do research online pretty easily and find out what languages are supported for the other regions, but that's gone. That's gone now. Unless you know Japanese, you ain't playing Japanese Switch 2 games. And that sucks. I think that really, really sucks. It's a bummer, but Japan's got to do what they got to do, and they're having economic problems, and honestly, we're making them worse. The U.S. is, so I get it. And that's what that is. I don't think that there's any problems with that, and I think that that's worth mentioning. All right, so the last topic I wanted to talk about in this video is the backwards compatibility. It's something that I've been the most excited about for the Switch 2. I had assumed that most games other than hardware limited games would be the ones that are not going to work on the system. I need to kind of back up on what I was saying there a little bit because some new information has come out that is a little different about what backwards compatibility looks like. So Nintendo actually is being wildly transparent about this, which I give them incredible kudos for. I know I was just flipping middle fingers off at them not that long ago, but here I am back again, giving them their kudos as it's deserved. They are being wildly transparent about their compatibility, and so far they have done a number of tests. They have tested 122 Nintendo games and over 15,000 partner games. And as you can see from the chart that they're showing online here on their official website, so this is official info directly from them, there is a ton of playable games. There is a minute amount that they have found so far that have issues during startup, and a very, 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 very tiny amount of games that are not compatible. We'll talk about that in a second. Why? But just to give the brief rundown of the things here, games that require a Nintendo Switch Joy-Con to play, they're not going to work. So Ring Fit Adventures out, Switch 1-2, or 1-2 Switch, Everybody 1-2 Switch, Game Builder Garage, Nintendo Switch Sports, which is a huge bummer, by the way. WarioWare Move It, Nintendo Labo, and Labo, all those, no good. All right, so those are just, they're flat off the board. They'll never work, and they don't work now, and they won't work later. But then they have all these other games that do work or have startup issues. So we're going to open this up, and it's a whole ass PDF that Nintendo put out on games that are currently have issues. So you can see here there is a huge number of them. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. And they've listed the handling as the issue is being investigated. So just because these games have issues or they're currently problematic for the Switch 2 right now, it doesn't mean that that's forever. And honestly, I think that they knew that this was a feature that they wanted, that they knew that we wanted. They knew we wanted this, and they wanted it to work. And it was probably a bigger task than maybe they were hoping for, and they've run into a lot of issues right now. And this is supposed stuff. This is not, I'm not trying to like, here, but at the same time, I do want to mention this stuff. So I have full faith, and I could be wrong, maybe I will be wrong, but I have full faith that they are going to continue looking at this, continue updating this, continue improving this, and we're going to get more and more compatibility and less issues as time goes by. So I'm just going to go through here and see if there's anything that's like really big that I think anyone that watches this page might worry about. There's a lot of arcade classics, Batman, Enemy Within, Darksiders Genesis. I mean, that's a good one. Dead by Daylight, also very popular. I don't know about on Switch. Doom Eternal, definitely for sure. Ender Magnolia is a big one. I think Everspace is kind of okay. Final Fantasy, yes. Fortnite, absolutely. But they're gonna make a whole new Nintendo Switch 2 version, so that's a plus side for that one. The Framed Collection really sucks. Gal Guardians Demon Purge literally just came out, so that really sucks. I get Isekai into a shoot 'em up. Jurassic Park Games Collection. I'm just trying to bring up random picks off of this here. So a bunch of these though are just kind of nothing burgers. Neverwinter Nights is kind of a bummer for me as an old school fan. Same with Oddworld. Got this one here really bums me out. NAS America Rhapsody Moral Kingdom Chronicles. I'm a Moral Kingdom fan. Okay, I wanted to play it on the Switch 2 also. South Park Fractured Butthole. A couple Star Wars games, Episode 1 Racer and the Dark Forces remaster, which is like super new. That's a bummer. One of the Neptunia games, Super Neptunia RPG. Taiko no Tatsujin, Taiko Drums. I always like to call it Taiko Drums. A couple of early Jack parties, Jack Pack 2, Jack Pack 1, Talos Principle. Travis Strikes Again, that's another big one. That was actually, I really liked that game. I didn't think I would, and I ended up loving it. There's Wolfenstein on there, Senran Kagura Reflections. I personally think Reflections is kind of not, of all the Senran Kagura games, that's real low on it. Knights of Azure 2, and Tokyo Xanadu EX, and I covered this one, Process of Elimination. I never got to beat it, so that'll be kind of a bummer, but anyway, that's just kind of a quick rundown. You guys can check out the website. This is with startup issues with the Nintendo Switch 2. They also have a whole nother one here, which is really cool. It's games that are playable but have some in-game compatibility issues. So we're looking at, one thing I noticed is kind of a running theme on here, any cloud games. And honestly, fuck cloud games. I hope no cloud games work. I'm saying that right now. If you guys like cloud games, I'm sorry, but I hate them. I hope they never work. I hope Nintendo moves far away from that and we never go into that territory ever again. Alan Wake Remastered, Alien Isolation, Dust, Elysian Tale. I know a number of y'all like that. Factorio also. Fall Guys kind of sits on there as well. Harvestella, big bummer. Hitman 3 Cloud version, fuck that shit. Mega Man Legacy Collection, bummer. Overcooked, All You Can Eat, bummer. But I think there's Overcooked 2. Saints Row 4 Reelected, that one kind of bums me out too. Steven Universe fans, Save the Light. Not so much, sorry. And Neptunia, Senran Kangura, Ninja Wars. But pretty small list, really, overall. Now, let's get into the reason why. So, as it turns out, the Switch hardware is different than the Switch 2 hardware in like a core sense. So, when you look at something like the Wii used to play GameCube games. Well, if you break open a Wii, you can basically find a GameCube motherboard inside, and that's how it was played. That's how they did great backwards compatibility. With the Switch 2, they're having to modify games and make them work. I think the way it was described is somewhere between software and hardware emulation. I'm misquoting that a little bit, but it's kind of a sort of an emulation to make these games work from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, which was not what I expected at all. And because of that, there's a lot of little hinky dinks when it comes to making the games work. So compatibility for Nintendo Switch backwards compatibility may not be as great as we were hoping, but I actually do have full faith, especially with how much they're putting into being really full frontal about this, that they're going to keep doing these updates. They're going to improve this emulation or whatever they want to try to call it, the backwards compatibility situation. And I genuinely believe that as the Switch continues its lifespan, it's going to have a lot of growth and improvements, and we're going to see even more value out of the system. I'm very excited for it. I think that the Switch 2 is going to be a good system. I know the internet's all over the place, but I'm very excited to pre-order it. The tariff stuff kind of worries me a little bit on continuing prices, because like I said, my argument was about the $450 price tag. If that has to go up significantly because of tariffs, that could be rather problematic for most people. I'm fine. I know you don't care. I worry about you guys because there are people that are paycheck to paycheck, worried about limited budgets, and this kind of stuff is just really tough. So that's what I wanted to talk about with the Switch 2. I wanted to go over more verifiable things. I wanted to provide a video on YouTube that was a little bit less crazy. The world is burning down, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to get 10, 15 million views like Mudahar and Charlie, but I'm going to report what I'm going to report, how I want to report it, and try to be a little bit more level-headed on all this stuff. I would absolutely love to hear your comments below. I made a YouTube post on this that you guys really went hard on commenting on, and I really appreciated that. I'm not the end-all be-all with all this stuff, but I think that it is. I did as best as I could at digging into all this stuff to see how this works, and I wanted to share it with you. So I hope it was something you guys appreciated. If you like this content, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It just lets me know. Subscribe to Yokuso Otaku if you like more anime news, reviews, and gaming. I'm Dre. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.